Going into our first match between Dmitrij's Angels and the Fancy Gopniks. First off for red team, we have the Snord Stoop Bop Stop. Looks like Nemesis center on this Judgment. Gatling Light Flak on lower decks. And Minotaur on the right side. Their ally, the sound is still muted. Their ally is the Reborn, piloted by Sunstrom, Mercury Dual Arts on this Mobula with Gatling on the right, Hades on the left. And for their opponents, the Fancy Gopniks, we have Alien Dragonfly, Shrike Gatling Hwacha on the left side. And I suspect, yes, another Gatling and Hwacha on the right. And finally, their allied Friendfish, Heavy Carronade Goldfish, with Light Carronade on the right, Banshee on the left. So, last week, so long ago, don't remember what the team name, what name they were flying, it was second team. Took last week's SCS, and that was Alien Dragonfly paired with Sunstrom ship. And Alien Dragonfly, the Blue Shrike, was definitely, I consider, the MVP of last week's tournament. The Glowwater Thralls are a team that have been playing together for a very, very long time. And taking a look at the scoreboard here, you see Kira Wanai, the child aboard the Alien Dragonfly, longtime Polaris member, now been flying with the Glowwater Thralls for a few weeks now. Definitely proving himself in his early SCS matches. Now currently, Fancy Gopniks just pushing straight into Dmitrij's Angels' defensive encampment. Long-range guns for the red team, not going to be very useful at this range. Snord Stoop, the Judgment opting not to bring any Hwachas, so definitely feel like blue team gonna have a strong advantage in this sort of a close range fight. Alien Dragonfly, Hwacha coming out, hitting some of the few unarmored shots on the Reborn and switching focus to the Snord Stoop, while the Friendfish continues to blend down the Reborn with the right side Light Carronade, trying to keep them from going for their ally, the Alien Dragonfly. We'll see who the Friendfish decides to blend down. Looks like currently Judgment is the target. Not a huge amount of damage being done. Both the builds that blue team are bringing are disable control style builds that don't have a low amount of killing power. So the idea is Fancy Gopnik's going to run in, take control of the enemy ships, knock out their balloon, knock out their guns and engines, and force red team into a position that they cannot recover from, rather than try to... Basically, they're maintaining the vice grip rather than just rolling over their heads with a pickup truck. It's not a really very good analogy, but it's the best I could come up with. However, as we see here, Fancy Gopniks having a little bit of trouble. Dmitrij's Angels have been doing a good job repairing and positioning themselves, making it difficult for both these ships to keep them locked down. Alien Dragonfly taking a lot of damage as well, and there they go. Light Flak from the Snord Stoop, taking down the Blue Shrike. And that's one of the issues with these control style builds is Fancy Gopniks, I think Friendfish probably going to go down here. Well, let's see. They might be able to get a kill on the Reborn. They're moving forward, going for a ram, but Reborn is just barely able to get their balloon up, get that hydrogen out to dodge that fire. And I think Friendfish is going to have a... Reborn does have to be a little bit careful because they are so heavily damaged, but Friendfish, I think it's going to be tough. They do get the balloon pop, and looks like they're going to try to escape. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to, especially with the Minotaur from the Snord Stoop knocking the Friendfish around. You can see that must be very annoying. Big Light Flak hits as well. You know, even if the Friendfish would be able to escape here, I'm not sure if they want to. The heavily damaged goldfish is not a particularly valuable one, and I think that's probably going to be it for the friend fish. They do get the armor back up. There it goes, Artemis shot coming in, finishing them off. So what I was saying before is the issue with some of these close range control style team compositions is that because they take such a long time to get a kill, and because most of the fast ships in the game have very low armor, it's kind of a tightrope that you're walking as the pilot trying to fly in that style. Because if you... Effectively, the only reason that you are safe is because you are landing those Hwasha hits, you're landing those carronade hits, you're keeping balloons suppressed for the entire duration of the fight. So if you let off the gas, even for just a moment, because you are flying a faster, a squissier ship, if you allow your target to enable any sort of return fire, you effectively lose your advantageous position almost immediately. As soon as Gatling starts hitting your hull, Shrike, both the Shrike and the Goldfish, two of the lowest hull armor values in the entire game. So Gatling will take it out very quickly. Minotaur as well. Even the Nemesis is a pretty big threat to a Shrike, and that it's a risk reward calculation that you have to do. Bringing these types of ships, I'm sure Fancy Gopniks, both Daniel and as well as the Thralls, players and teams that are very well known for a highly aggressive styles of play. So I'm sure the strategy going into this, they expected their opponent, Sunstrom, conversely, as well as Dolorum, known for more reactive style defensive play. Skyborn, for sure, known to have very strong sniping mechanics. So I'm sure Fancy Gopnik's plan here was just to charge the enemy encampment, and they figured once they closed the distance, they had the engagement won, but as you saw there, not the case. Had a little bit of difficulty closing out the match. I'll say also Fernfeld, the map that we are currently playing on, can be one of the more difficult ones for a carronade to be a carronade based build to get a lot of utility out, just because it's such a wide open map. The only real terrain pieces here are in the center, and most of this still allows quite a bit of, you see it's pretty wide open even near the floor, a lot of maneuverability even if your balloon gets knocked out. So it can be difficult for a heavy carronade, specifically a Carrowfish, which is going to be relying almost exclusively on the heavy carronade to get kills. It can take them a very long time to actually close out those points on these wide open maps. Now, we see here Dmitrij's Angels taking a more southern position, moving out of their spawn zone. Alien Dragonfly Friendfish already here, spots down for both teams. They are ready to contest. And it's also going to be tough. A frontal charge, I think I barely... I kind of missed the beginning of the last engagement because I was reading off ship loadouts. But I want to say the Fancy Gopniks initiated that fight with a split formation with one of the ships coming in from behind, and that works well. One of the issues here is that Snortstoop has two weapons that have knockback. We'll take a quick look at the Judgment. You see they have the Nemesis and Minotaur, and you see both of them being fired. So both of those weapons have knockback, which means when they hit your ship, they're gonna basically make it very difficult for the enemies to maintain any sort of frontal momentum if they're charging in a straight line. Charging through the gunfire, these gun arcs of these two red ships is going to be very difficult. So I don't know, at least for the moment, Fancy Gopniks, seems like there was a short pause. We are currently paused, so Fancy Gopniks currently taking refuge behind this piece of terrain, but what I would really like to see is one of these ships, probably the Alien Dragonfly, because the Shrike is a little bit faster. It can reposition a little bit more quickly. Let's break off to the north and spin the camera around here. They could run through this cloud and try to hit either the Reborn or Snortstoop. Reborn very heavily damaged from the last fight, so it's possible that Fancy Gopniks can identify that Reborn is in 3rd stage of damage, the Dragonfly would be able to get a very fast kill. Also, this is a very exposed... Now, looking at where the Reborn is located relative to the terrain, this is a spot where the heavy carronade goldfish could get a fast kill if, once again, they identify... I do believe Reborn was spotted before the pause went down. But if they're able to locate the Reborn, identify their position, get a fast balloon pop, smash them into the mountain, blue team could easily take control of this situation. The only problem is... The question is if blue is able to identify that the Reborn is there and is vulnerable, and if they're able to go to deal with the knockback effects from the Snord Stoop. That certainly could be a difficult proposition if the shots are landing. Now, one thing I am a little bit surprised here. If you notice, there's one ship that we saw quite a bit of last week. It is absent from this week's first game, and that is the Corsair. The ship newly added. This would be the 2nd week that the Corsair is available in PvP for SCS. And at least in this initial match, no teams currently bringing the very fast Corsair, being a ship that has a lot of close-range mobility, but is also a big target. So I suppose if Fancy Gopniks were expecting the Dmitrij's Angels to take this defensive sniping approach, Corsair probably... I was musing on this a little bit last week, that the Corsair seems like a very, very strong ship, especially in close-range engagements. It's a ship that has a lot of firepower and a lot of tanking capability, as well as close-range mobility. It has really everything going for it, except the fact that it only has one forward-facing gun, and it's also a very large target that's easy to hit. So what I surmise is that the Corsair's one weakness is that it's not going to be very... I believe the ship would succumb to any sort of long-range fire, any sort of long-range strategy. It would have a lot of difficulty with, as we do have the pause being... the match being resumed. Reborn has risen up from their last position, so what I was talking about with the heavy carronade, probably not going to be a factor, as they're now much farther away from the terrain. And initially, it looks like Friendfish going to be going for the Snore Stoop. Alien Dragonfly unspotted. Reborn, they don't know exactly where the Alien Dragonfly is, but they know the Alien Dragonfly. They know they're moving through that cloud, as Friendfish does not get a pop on the Snore Stoop. Only one heavy carronade shot. Friendfish going for the Reborn. Alien Dragonfly landing a great Watcher connection on the Judgment. And let's see what Friendfish is able to do. Reborn doing a great job dodging this incoming fire, as we see a dual focus from the Fancy Gopniks. Reborn taking the tail end of the Watcher, but the Banshee from the Friendfish able to finish them off. And now here we go. Reborn, Fancy Gopniks were able to... They realized that the Reborn took a lot of damage from that last fight, able to take them out quickly. And now the Snord Stoop, despite the fact that this Red Judgment has a lot of firepower, they're not going to be able to deal with the disable capability of both the blue ships. So I suspect we will see 2nd point for Fancy Gopniks, tying up the score. And down they go. So with Fancy Gopniks winning that fight, they do have a forward position into the spawn of Dmitrij's Angels. So I'll be curious to see where Red Team decides to pop up. There is both a spawn in kind of the D4 area, which is the default spawn, or maybe E4, to the northwest, but there's a south spawn as well, if Red Team wants to be a little bit tricky. But no, they're taking the farthest possible spawn in this scenario, the north spawn, as we can see here in the E6 square of the map. So Red Team, and this makes sense, because obviously they are, because they have this long-range style of composition that the Dmitrij's Angels are bringing. They want the most distance between them and their targets to be able to utilize these powerful long-range weapons. And here we go. Blue Team splitting up. Alien Dragonfly taking the east side of this mountain. Friendfish the west moving in a little bit early. Heavy carronade shots going into the Snord Stoop. Judgment's balloon is down, but Friendfish loses their armor very quickly, being forced to hydrogen up, rise over red team's position as the alien dragonfly moves in. Let's see, first target going to be the Reborn. Gatling from the Reborn. Oh, just barely unable to keep up to take down the Dragonfly's balloon. You saw the failsafe kit slowly rebuilding the whole armor on the Dragonfly. That is one of the advantages of the Shrike, is because it's a ship that's very easy to repair. You can get a lot of utility, a lot of extra repairability by bringing multiple failsafe kits, which can make what would otherwise be a very squishy ship a little bit more sustainable. However, Friendfish does have to be very careful, because they're sitting at very low health, so if the armor on the Goldfish goes down, I think 2 light flak shots will probably finish them off. As we see Alien Dragonfly trying to get the rear of the Snord Stoop. Reborn with some dissuading fire. Dragonfly taking a little bit of explosive damage. Friendfish switching focus to the Reborn, but Reborn is ducking down, staying out of the heavy carronade arcs. Gatling probably going to try to take down the heavy carronade with the Gatling. You see, they're trying to focus the front of the ship, but the shots are going a little bit wide. Not sure what ammunition type they're using on Reborn, but they do get the Friendfish's armor. And armor on the Judgment goes down as well to Alien Dragonfly's Gatling gun. No Quacha, just yet big damage from the Reborn, able to take them out. And again, this is a problem. Red team, they don't have as much close range mobility, but they do have a significant firepower advantage. So if blue team lets either of them off the hook, they're done. They cannot sit in front of red team's gun arcs. And we'll see once again, Friendfish in a situation where they could either try to escape or just suicide their ship. It seems like maybe the decision is being made for them. As the Reborn moves in with the Gatling gun, Artemis, a lot of the Artemis going into the balloon, Friendfish ducking down, balloon blocking the incoming explosive damage, keeping them alive for just a moment, but I really do not think they're going to be able to survive this. But they are trying. They're hydrogening up. They bump the Reborn. We'll see Alien Dragonfly. Yeah, and that's going to be a kill on the Friendfish. You see Alien Dragonfly, they did spawn in, but they did not move from their spawn point. So clear that the fancy Gopniks were aware that they were not going to be able to survive long enough for their ally to rejoin them. So just doing what they could. The thing is, they were trying to do damage. This is a situation you see often in Guns of Icarus where the ally ship dies, your ship is heavily damaged. Do you try to disengage, or do you stay behind and basically throw away your ship, but try to do so in a way where you do the maximum amount of damage? Because even a damaged ship, you can still knock off a few health points, even with a damaged heavy Carrowfish. However, the issue with doing that, rather than just flying into a wall and dying really quickly, is that the Dmitrij's Angels have a heavy point advantage, and the clock, only 4 minutes left on the clock. So Friendfish staying behind like that, trying to just create some chaos for a moment, seeing if they could maybe get a few unarmored shots. They wasted some of their precious time, and this is going to be a problem because the fancy Gopniks not only have to win this fight, they have to win 2 fights to take this match. Because red team, because of Dmitrij's Angels, got the first kill of the match, in the event that the game ends in a tie, the score ends in a tie, red team will have the tiebreaker advantage. So if fancy Gopniks want to take this, they have to kill both the red ships without giving up one of their own, and then take another one in a subsequent fight. And I don't know if they have enough time to do that, but they will certainly try. Snord Stoop taking some good damage here. Quacha, unarmored hull on the Snore Stoop. Judgment going to survive. They will get an armor rebuild here, but Judgment very low. If Alien Dragonfly can get another unarmored Hwacha connection, that's going to be it for the Judgment. And yeah, there we go. 3rd point on the board for Fancy Gopniks. Reborn trying their best here, getting rammed by the Friendfish. Mobula not going to be able to escape from this. They have no balloon. There's nowhere for them to go. And Friendfish does get 4th point. Score is tied up. 3 minutes on the clock. Where the blue... This is a tough situation because Fancy Gopniks do not have a lot of time, and Dmitrij's Angels have multiple areas that they could spawn in. Currently, you see blue team, this fight taking place at the northernmost edge of the map. And so we'll see here. Fancy Gopniks currently expecting their opponents to take a southern spawn, but it's also possible that they're just gonna Dmitrij's Angels are just gonna kind of wait them out and spawn back north again once they've turned around, and it looks like that's what they choose to do. But Fancy Gopniks hadn't moved too far, so they can very quickly turn back around and re-engage. So I don't know if this gambit is gonna work out for Dmitrij's Angels. This might be giving their opponents the opportunity to actually get the last kill within the time limit. However, Alien Dragonfly taking a lot of damage from the Reborn. They need to get out of this situation. Oh, Reborn just eviscerating the Blue Shrike. And Fancy Gopniks, they started to mount a little bit of a comeback near the end, near the expiration of the time limit, but the Dmitrij's Angels were able to close it out